All right, I think we'll get started. And as more people uh, join, we have some introductory slides, so they'll have some time without missing too much content. So welcome everyone to the Department of Correction Insider Series. We're glad you could join us today. This is our first edition of our relaunch series, and today we're going to be talking about the application of good time in Delaware. So before we get started, a few housekeeping items. All microphones will be muted for the duration of the webinar. Please submit all your questions in the Q&A box on your Zoom screen versus the chat. Any questions submitted through Q&A, we will try to pose these to the presenter at the end. We can't answer questions about specific individuals or cases. So if you have questions about loved ones that may be in a facility or any specific situations, you can reach out afterward and we'll provide some contact information at the end and we can see if we can help answer those specific questions. But any general questions, please feel free to pose. Due to the large number of attendees, we might not get to every question. So we will respond to those unanswered questions by email afterwards. But keeping in mind, if you do ask a question anonymously, we may not be able to contact you afterwards, but that is always an option. The webinar will be recorded and is also will be posted on the DOC's YouTube channel, and the PowerPoint will be sent out as well. And certificates of attendance for those who stay tuned for the entire webinar will also be provided. So my name is Jessica Klein. I'm the Chief of the Office of Planning, Research, and Reentry, and I will be your moderator for today's session. Planning, Research, and Reentry is a specialized unit in the Office of the Commissioner that oversees and coordinates prisoner reentry initiatives, leads the department's data collection and analysis efforts, facilitates strategic planning, oversees accreditation and compliance, provides project and grant management for multi-bureau initiatives, and oversees prison education. And today's presenter is Correctional Project Manager Tom Aiello. Tom has worked for the department for over 20 years. He started as a correctional counselor or a correctional officer at Howard R. Young and then transferred to James T. Vaughn in 2005, where he served as a correctional counselor. Tom was a classification officer at Sussex Correctional Institution from 2011 until 2019, when he joined the Office of Planning, Research, and Reentry as a planner. Tom holds a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from the University of Delaware and has completed multiple specialized trainings. So right now, I'm going to launch our first poll. We have some polls to keep things interactive. And right now, we just kind of want to get an idea of who's in the audience. So I'm going to launch the poll. Hopefully you can see it. Which stakeholder group best describes you? And there are a number of choices. I'll give you a minute to answer, and then we'll check out the results. All right, it looks like the results have stopped coming in. So let's see what we have. Going to share the results. Hopefully you can see the results. DOC employees are coming in at 45%, followed by other state agency employees, then nonprofit, community members, a few students in the group, some members of the legal community, and then a handful of people showing as other. So today we're going to talk about the different types of good time, eligibility, forfeiture, calculation, and then again our Q&A. We've already had one poll and we'll have several more throughout the webinar just to keep it interactive. All answers are anonymous, so feel free to answer honestly, give things your best guess if you don't know the answer, and then we'll show you the results. So now I'm going to turn it over to Tom to get us started.
Good afternoon, everyone. Jessica, next slide, please. Okay. So, sometimes good time can be a little tedious when trying to explain. I'll try and do my best to keep everybody engaged as much as I can. So, there are generally three types of good time that the department looks at and considers. Statutory good time is time that is earned as authorized by statute for good behavior. Generally, this good time is based on sentence length for the individual and is calculated depending on how long an individual is within our custody. Meritorious good time is time that is earned through activities or through active participation, education, rehabilitation, work, or other programs designated by the DOC Commissioner. So there is currently a good time committee that reviews programs and makes recommendations to the commissioner for her to look at and to, approve for good time. And then you have meritorious bonus good time. This is time that is earned for successful completion of approved programs designed to reduce recidivism and approved by the DOC Commissioner. So some programs may earn meritorious good time, but not bonus good time, depending on what the program is. But for the majority of the programs that are running in our facilities, there is some level of bonus good time involved with it. Next slide, please, Jessica. So the authority for good time comes from Delaware Code, subsection 4381. It breaks down how good time is awarded, either a statutory, meritorious, or bonus good time, meritorious bonus good time. It lays out, what are the maximums individuals can earn per month, what are the maximums an individual can earn per year, and kind of just lays out the ground rules for, how we can apply the good time, how approval for programs work, things like that are laid out. Next slide, please.
I believe we actually have a poll question before the next slide.
Sorry about that. Forgot about that.
So I am going to try to launch our next poll to see how much everyone knows about eligibility for good time. So the question, hopefully you all can see, who can earn good time? Select all that apply. So this is multiple choice. You can select more than one. All right, it looks like the answers have stopped coming in. This is a little bit of a nuanced question, so we'll have Tom explain the results and the answers, but let's look at the results first. So most people said sentenced individuals. A few also said individuals sentenced to life. We had a handful also of people that believe unsentences can earn good time, and about half of people where the individual is sentenced to a minimum mandatory, which is in Delaware Code 4204K. So I'm going to have Tom kind of explain the intricacies of this answer.
All right. So if you go to the next slide, I'll be able to kind of explain a little better through visual. Okay, so the correct answer for that is sentenced individuals with some exceptions, but there's also, for those that answered for unsentenced or detentioners, They can earn good time. However, it's not applied until an individual receives a level 4 or level 5 sentence. So either a work release or home confinement sentence or a jail or prison sentence. So they can earn it, but whether or not when it gets applied won't happen until they actually have a sentence to apply it to. Um, so there's also a caveat to sentence individuals. So all sentences imposed for any offense under Title 11, which is our criminal code, Title 16, which deals with drug sentences or drug charges, and Title 21, which is driving related offenses and DUIs, may be reduced by earning good time credit. There are exceptions within that. So those sentenced under Title 11 Delaware Code under what's called 4204K. This is a condition that the court can impose for any portion of a sentence that's served without benefit of good time. That condition can only be applied to sentences of 1 year or less, or to sentences equal to the statutory maximum sentence. So this is pretty much currently the only way an individual can receive a minimum mandatory sentence, and it's up to the discretion of the court to apply that, to whatever sentence. The other part that removes people from earning good time would be life sentences or life imprisonment for Class A felonies, adults convicted for murder in the first, and individuals who are serving life as a habitual offender under Delaware Code 4214. The reason for this is because a life sentence is in Delaware a life sentence. There isn't a way to reduce the sentence through good time. When Delaware says life, they mean life. There are some caveats to this as far as looking at individuals for various release mechanisms within the Delaware Code, but that's not specific to good time, so it wouldn't apply in this instance. So generally speaking, when we're talking about people who are eligible for good time, it's individuals who have a release date in their sentence under Title 11, Title 16, or Title 21. Next slide, please. So statutory good time. So this is, again, the good time that we're talking about. An individual receives on their sentence for basically the length of time that they're serving. When we talk about this, generally there's a cutoff point within sentences. July 1st, 1990, when Delaware went from non-truth in sentencing or a parole setup to truth in sentencing, which gives a certain amount of time with a specific amount of good time removed, and the parole board, isn't involved with that. So under truth in sentencing, those who are sentenced for crimes that were committed on or after July 1st, 1990. For the first year, each month they can earn up to 2 days per month over a total of 24 days per year. And anything over sentence over 1 year and beyond, they can earn up to 3 days per month or a total of 36 days per year. This is generally calculated. If you're talking to an individual who's incarcerated, they'll be able to see and know how much the total they've accumulated. But generally speaking, should be calculated on ongoing monthly basis, depending on the individual's behavior within facilities. The way our automated system currently is structured, it just gives the total. And that's the same for both truth in sentencing and non-truth in sentencing individuals. It's a little bit different for non-truth in sentencing individuals. They earn a little bit more. So anything that's prior to July 1st, 1990, they can, for their first year, they can earn 5 days per month or a total of 60 days. Years 1 through 2, so anything after 1 year but before past 2 years or up to 2 years, they can earn 7 days per month. Over 2 years and up to 3 years, they can earn 9 days per month. And over 3 years, they can earn 10 days per month for 120 days. So anything over 3 years, it's going to be the 10 days per month. Currently, the majority of individuals that are incarcerated with us are truth in sentencing. However, we do have individuals that are serving longer sentences that were sentenced prior to July 1, back in the 80s and, very early 90s that are serving long sentences that can still earn good time based on non-truth in sentencing. Next slide, please, Jessica. So some examples of what we're looking at or of what I just talked about. So the first one is someone sentenced under TIS to 3 years. They can earn 24 days for the first year, 36 days for the second, for every year after that. So the calculation would break down as follows to a total of 98 days for a 3-year sentence. This does not include any meritorious good time or meritorious bonus good time. This is specifically to statutory good time. Someone sentenced for the same amount of time under non-TIS, would earn 60 days for the first year, 84 days for the second year, and 108 days for the third year, for a total of 252 days. Like I said, currently the majority of people who are serving non-TIS sentences are extremely long sentences, and therefore, you won't see this calculation very frequently with short-term sentences. Next slide, please. Poll.
Yes. Before we move on to the next slide, we have another poll question testing your knowledge on the maximum number of days someone can earn in a year of good time. So the question is, what is the maximum number of good time days an individual can earn in a year? 30, 100, 160, or 180? Still have some answers coming in, so I'll give it another few seconds. All right, I'm going to end the poll. Let's see, we have all the answers were chosen. So we had about 34% say 30 days, 21% said 100, 14% said 160, 31% said 180. So pretty close across the board for all those answers. So Tom, would you like to share with us the correct answer?
So the maximum number of days currently that an individual can earn is up to 180 days. So this is meritorious and meritorious bonus good time that we're talking about. So this is combined for each individual. So meritorious good time can be earned regardless of whether an individual is TIS or non-TIS. With those caveats of what I talked about previously for 4204K and life sentences. So prior to July 20th, 2001, individuals can earn up to 5 days per month for participation in work, school, or program, with a maximum number of days being 160 days. So those individuals that indicated 160, close, but as of July 2001, that's now been increased to 180 days. Individuals can earn 10 days per month for participation in work, school, or programs. And that's kind of prorated, and we'll get into that here in a minute. So to be clear and so everybody understands, this isn't a calendar year that we're talking about when we're talking about, the amount, the 180 days an individual can earn in a year. This is based on the individual's sentence date. So if the individual's sentence date was March 3rd of this year, that 1 year would expire on March 2nd of 2026. So that's the time frame or the number or the year that we're looking at when we talk about that, not a January to December. So sometimes individuals will see this and not understand why they like, well, we're all over a new calendar year. This is why it's based on their sentence year. And so if you look at it and say a person's working, a full amount of time to earn the 10 bonus days or 10 days per month, we're talking 120 days a person can earn into a year just from that participation in work, school, or program. And then that gives some wiggle room for another 60 days of bonus good time individuals can earn for completion of programs. So, next slide, please, Jessica. So when we're talking about work score program and the number of hours an individual participates in, if you're looking at the left side of this chart, that's the total number of hours an individual will need to participate in for them to get that number of days. So it's kind of prorated based on an individual's participation in work score program. These numbers are also combined. So if an individual is working on a program, they have a job, and they're working and participating in education, all those total number of hours that they complete in all three of those would give those hours that they're going towards their total number of days. This is per month, so the maximum number of days an individual can earn in a month is 10 days. So anything beyond the 144 hours, is not going to change it. The max is 10 days. Next slide, please. So those 10 days don't include meritorious bonus good time as far as the monthly portion. Meritorious bonus good time is awarded for when an individual completes a program. So an individual will still earn the 10 days that they have for the participation if that's the total number as they have, plus the bonus that they earn. They just can't earn above 180 days total for the sentence year. So meritorious bonus good time, in August of 2012, Senate Bill 226 was passed, allowing for individuals to complete approved programs as designated to reduce recidivism to earn 60 days, up to 60 days of meritorious bonus good time. There are currently 26 programs approved to earn bonus meritorious good time. And I believe actually we're up to 27 now. We just had one approved, I believe last week, and I forgot to add that one in here. Those programs range from anywhere from 1 day of bonus, depending on the curriculum and the program length, to I believe the max we currently have is 30 days, program earning 30 days. We're talking flagship substance abuse program, Road to Recovery, which is a residential program. GED, high school diploma or diploma of alternative standards earns, I believe, 30 days. So there's also, like I said, there's various levels within there, based on the accreditation of the program or what the program can do to reduce recidivism. Next slide, please. Or actually,
it is time for a poll. So our next poll, we're going to talk a little bit about, or ask you about, the amount of good time that is earned. And this question is referring to meritorious/meritorious bonus good time. So it has to do with programming, hours worked in institutional employment, and education. So our question is, how many good time, meritorious and bonus days were earned in June 2025. And this is across our 4 level 5 facilities. So our prisons, Baylor, Howard R. Young, James T. Vaughn, and SCI. How many good time days were earned in June? Right at, oh, wait, no, still getting a few more. I'll give it another second or two. All right. So the poll shows about 10% thought it was 4,237, 39%, 8,133, 13%, 1,026, 29%, 17,075, and 9%, 3,679 days. So Tom, why don't you share with us the correct answer?
So the total number of days for June, now this is just June of this year, was 17,075. If you look at the breakdown, by institution, you'll notice a lot of those numbers look familiar from the poll. So individuals were participating in work, school, or programming for a total of a little over 72,000 for HOYCI for 3,679 days earned. James T. Vaughn is 137,000, a little over 137,000 hours for 8,133 days total earned. SCI just under 90,000 hours for 4,237. And BWCI was about 22,000 and a half hours for 1,026 days. And if you're familiar with the populations of each of these facilities, those numbers track fairly well. Vaughn is our largest population currently incarcerated, so that makes sense that they earned the highest number of hours, while Baylor has our lowest population and why their hours are slightly less. Down at the bottom, if you look at our level 4 facilities for June 2025, there was a total of 53,000, almost 54,000 hours participated in work, school, or program, with a total of 2,314 days earned. So these numbers actually surprised me. I don't really usually track this, data, but those numbers are a lot higher than I actually expected once I looked at them. So, I'm glad that we have these programs and these work assignments and things like that individuals can participate in and work towards, bettering themselves. So, next slide, please. So when is good time applied? When is good time looked at and applied to an individual's sentence? So as I talked earlier, statutory good time is to be applied each month for good behavior. Most individuals who are incarcerated or look at our what we call status sheets, which basically lays down the parameters of the sentence, you'll see the total number of hours, and that is taken off there, and that's because of the way our automated system is set up. But it will be applied monthly, and you'll see where that comes into play when we start talking about forfeiture at good time. Meritorious good time is applied at the beginning of each month. It considers all work, school, or programming hours. So if you go back to the chart we looked at earlier, the total number of hours they have for all 3 of them is what breaks down to give us the total number of days they earned for each month. good time is applied at the beginning of the following month that it was that the individual was in work, school, or programming. So, for example, June 2025 hours are approved and applied after July 1 of 2025. So, by now, the majority of individuals should see that credited to their towards their incarceration. Based on the days I'm looking at now. Usually, it's approved and taken care of within the first week of the changeover of the month, but it's up to the facilities to go in and approve that time. Meritorious bonus good time is applied on or after the completion date of an approved program. So again, once an individual completes the program, the facility approves the completion, and then that information is sent to the automated system and is automatically calculated for the bonus good time. And then any forfeiture of good time is applied after it's reviewed by an authorized staff member. So generally that is designated at the facility level for the staff to, or for the, I believe, higher staff to review each incident or review each disciplinary that has loss of good time and see whether or not it is applicable. And we can, and when we get into forfeiture, I'll get into kind of why that is. This is also verified by our records department after the good time has been authorized for removal. Okay, next slide, please. So forfeiture of good time. So whereas Delaware Code 4381 laid out how individuals can earn good time or how programs are approved for good time, 4382 lays out the circumstances for forfeiture of good time. So there's 4 instances where an individual can lose good time, and this falls under where good time is listed as for good behavior. Forfeiture of good time is something that happens for poor behavior. So if an individual is convicted of any new felony while at level 4 or 5, it will result in all forfeiture of good time up to the date of that offense, and that forfeiture cannot be suspended. So this is for only felony convictions. Previously, I believe it was approximately 2021 or 2022, it used to be misdemeanor and felony. The law was changed to just include new felony convictions. So this applies to both meritorious and statutory time. So this is where that calculation of statutory time comes into play. So if the date of the new felony was March of this year, then the individual will lose good time. Say they were sentenced in January and the new offense happened in March. Any good time between January and March is forfeited, and then anything after March can now start earning. So again, because of the way our automated system credits it, all they'll see is a reduction in either meritorious or statutory time that they've earned up to that point. Found guilty of a Class 1 rule violation may result in forfeiture of all or part of good time earned at that point. And this is where that forfeiture, is looked at as by an authorized individual. So because the forfeiture may be suspended to encourage rehabilitation or compliance, that individual can include that piece in their forfeiture. And then as long as the individual completes a program or is otherwise compliant for the next certain amount of time, then that reduction or that removal of good time can be taken off. Determined to have a physically assaulted staff. Again, this is subject to forfeiture of all good time up to the day of the assault. And this is only specific to staff assaults. One thing I forgot about the Class 1 rule violations. So Class 1s are basically looked at as write-ups that are of severe nature. So your assaults, possession of dangerous contrabands, your substance abuse, promoting prison contraband, things along those lines, which are generally serious or a higher level than other disciplinary infractions. And the last one, which I don't believe I've ever seen in my career, and I've been here, 20 years, found by the court to have filed factually frivolous, malicious, or legally frivolous claims, and sanctioned by the court. So, whereas the other ones are either automatic based on the offense or up to the institution, this one is comes through the courts. The DOC has no control over this one. It's basically a sanction from the court. And the court, it's up to the court to make the determination of whether something was filed frivolously, maliciously, or anything along those lines. Next slide, please. So, calculation of good time. This is going to be familiar to those who are here from the DOC, but anybody who is from the courts or from anywhere outside of that, individuals receive, and we have the ability to bring up what's called a status sheet within the department and through our automated system. Individuals receive regular copies of these that are incarcerated with us, so it'll show any updated good time, any changes to their sentence, any sentence parameters that might have changed through a modification of sentence, things like that. So some of the key terms that individuals will see on this. So if you ever see a copy of one, if an individual sends one to you saying, "Hey, this is wrong. Can you please get up with whoever to try and get it corrected?" These are some of the dates that you're going to see on there. So the start date is the date that the sentence starts. Not always the same as the sentence date, because there are times where time served comes into play, if an individual goes to another state, there's sometimes things will stop or change there. So those dates don't always match up. Sometimes they do. The next date, which you're going to see, would be the maximum expiration date, or the MED date. This is a release date that if anyone that the person has if they serve every day from day to day. So this is basically, and if an individual was serving a minimum mandatory sentence, that maximum expiration date will match up with the full amount of time that they're sentenced. So if an individual is sentenced to 1 year, then this date would be 1 year from the date of sentence. The short-term release date, or STRD date, is the date that is that we have for the release date with statutory good time only applied. So this will be the date that they have for any that they shows for any good time that's statutorily or that is statutory good time. So anything that they serve for their time length of sentence, that's what this date is. And then the adjusted release date, or the ADJ date, is a release date with statutory good time and earned meritorious good time. This is both meritorious good time earned for participation and meritorious bonus for completion of adjusted for programs. So the most common one that's going to move, or the most common one you're going to hear from an individual who's incarcerated, is the ADJ date, because that's more often what they associate with their release date. Next slide, please. Okay, so now we're going to get into some case studies. I believe there's like 2 case studies, so we can have kind of an examples of different things. So John Smith is sentenced on 7/20/2022 for a robbery first, charged to 10 years of incarceration. But the judge had suspended all of it up except for 3 years, and he was given credit for 365 days previously served. So he was given credit for 1 year served. Has worked as a food cart worker for 3 months and earned the maximum days per month. So that's 10 days per month. For 3 months is 30 days. So how would the sentence be calculated? So the start date would be 7/21/2021. The maximum expiration date of the sentence, so the date if he served everything day for day, would be 7/20/2024. His short-term release date, so remember this is with statutory good time, and this is 96 days of statutory good time. So that would be reduced down to 4/15/2024. And the adjusted release date, so with the 30 days meritorious good time that he earned, would be 3/16/2024. And now that I'm looking at this, I think there might have been an error early on that said 98 days statutory good time. It's actually was 90, should be 96. So 24 days for the first year, and 36 days for the second year, and 36 days for the year after that. So 24, 60, 96. It should be 96 statutory days. So this is the correct calculation. Next slide, please. Okay, so case study number 2. Al Jones is sentenced for the DUI charge of DUI 7th offense. So for people who are not familiar with Delaware, Delaware labels their DUIs up to, I believe, DUI 7th or 8th. Anything beyond a 7th or 8th, it continues to be the same charge. So for this, the individual has been charged and convicted of 7 prior DUI offenses. He's sentenced to 5 years of incarceration, spent after 2 years and 6 months and completion of a treatment program. He reported to Sussex Correctional on 1/20/2021 with no time served. Al completed a DUI treatment program, and then a year into Al's sentence, he was charged and convicted of a felony promoting prison contraband. So how would we calculate the sentence? So his start date would be the date that he entered into Sussex Correctional, which would be 1/20/2021. His max expiration date would be 7/19/2023, so that's with the 2 years and 6 months. Short-term release date after the loss of 24 days of statutory good time, because again, he was in 1 year and he can only lose up to that point. It would be 5/26/2023. And adjusted release date would now be 6/26/2023 because he lost all of his meritorious good time for participation in the program. So this number can change, so he can again go back into working, school if he needs schooling, or other programs to reduce that 5/26/2023. It's just as a snapshot of after he received the promoting to prison contraband, his adjusted release date would be 5/26/2023. And that's it for me.
Right, so that concludes the overview of good time. Before moving on to the question and answer session, though, we'd like to launch one more poll to let us know if this content was helpful, and how likely you are to join us again for different topics. Again, these are anonymous results. All right, it looks like the answers have stopped coming in. So we have 38 excellent, good 53%, and so 9%. Pretty good results for a really complicated topic. We tried to make it as simple as possible, but it is confusing even for those of us that work with this every day. So we really do appreciate your feedback and hope you join us for future webinars. So right now, we'd like to start the question and answer session, keeping in mind to enter your questions in the question and answer section. I'm going to scroll through these and see what we can answer. Yes, again, these slides will be available once the presentation is over. That was one of the questions. And I believe we answered this question. There was a question about um, forfeiture of good time, and if all good time was taken, or if there are graduated amounts in relation to the severity of the infraction. Tom, I think you answered that right with the class ones.
I
Um,
did, but I can expand upon that a little bit,
thank you.
if you like. So it would depend on why the forfeiture is there. So if it's a new charge, then as we saw, we forfeit all good time up to the date of that offense. Same with a staff assault. If we're talking disciplinary infractions, generally my experience with reviews of disciplinary reports, it would depend on the nature of the infraction, the severity of the infraction. Um, you know, there are various things they do. I believe there is some policy that kind of lays out, kind of a step depending on what the infraction is. But again, similar to what we deal with sentences, whereas an individual can be sentenced for more than what that the lowest amount of time is. It's similar to with disciplinary infractions, depending on the nature of that disciplinary infraction. So short, yes, there is kind of some guidelines for steps, but it's a case by case basis depending on the infraction and what happened with it.
Um, let's So this question, I think I will take. This is maybe an advanced session of the Good Time webinar, but I'll try to simplify it. So the comment was how we talk to credit towards their incarceration time, right? So the good time is days off of their overall sentence. And the question is, so if a person receives a 10-year sentence and is released after 7 years, do they then have to serve the remaining 3 years on community supervision, or are they no longer subject to DOC supervision? And the short answer to that is that that is considered conditional release. And as of August 2012, that conditional release time is supervised as probation. So the person does serve the balance of that in the community. It runs at the same time as any other probation they may have running. So if anyone has been around for many, many years, as you can see, a lot of these rules changed, and Tom did a good job pointing out when rules changed. Prior to August 8th, 2012, conditional release had to be served first, then the probation. And what happened in 2012 was that conditional release and probation are served at the same time, effectively just shortening the length of time that the person is under DOC supervision post release. So that can get really complicated. So if you have, if whoever asked that question wants a few more details about that, please feel free to reach out via email at the end. Another good question I see here is, and I don't know if you know the answer to this, Tom, but how far back can forfeiture be taken? So if someone's serving, for example, a 20-year sentence and 12 years in has a staff assault charge, would they lose that whole first 12 years of good time?
Yes. Yes. So short answer is yes, and that is because they can lose that good time, as the title states, or Title 11 states, they lose all good time up to the point of the incident. So if the individual gets a staff assault 12 years in, anything prior to that staff assault is being forfeited, and that's not something that by statute we can work around. It has to come off based on statute. Um, Anything beyond that, they can go back to earning good time through work score program, and they'll earn statutory days through that statutory days from that point after. But anything prior to that date would be forfeited.
Is there any situation where future good time could be taken, like not allowing them essentially, I guess, to earn good time, like moving
Uh,
forward?
not not that I'm aware of. So uh, when if an individual gets a new sentence, so we'll go with the example of an individual picks up a new felony charge, and the court determines that that charge should be served as 4204K. That charge will actually interrupt the other charges that are not minimum mandatory. So they'll stop what's been currently running and start that minimum mandatory sentence. And so they won't earn any good time prior to that because they forfeited the good time. But then that charge there is minimum mandatory, so they won't earn any good. It's hard to explain because they can earn good time on it, but it's not taken off until the back end. So like the rest of the remainder of their time can't go below whatever the release date is on that minimum mandatory portion, but they can still earn statutory good time and meritorious good time on anything that continues on after that that's not minimum mandatory. So there is no they can't take away future earnings. They can only take away what's been earned.
So we have a question here that I think is maybe more of an idea for a future webinar, but I won't pose it, but I'll sort of address the question. It basically asks, how do we enroll people in programming so they can get that good time opportunity, right, for the programs that are deemed eligible to earn good time. And like I said, I think that's a little outside the scope of this. We have done a prior webinar on classification that explains how we prioritize people into programming. So I would refer the person who asked this question maybe either back to our YouTube channel to look at that, or stay tuned for future webinars. The department is currently doing an evaluation of our classification through program placement process. And upon completion of that, we'll look at and look at any recommendations that are made from that. So stay tuned for more. But in the meantime, we do have an older webinar that addressed the assignment to programs. So we have a question. Obviously, these programs are designed to encourage good behavior. Do they work, and what percentage of inmates receive good time credit? I'll take that one too. I don't know if I can answer what percent receive good time credits, but I would guess that it's or not guess, I think it's an educated assessment that it's a fair amount, because obviously statutory is based on the sentence, but when we're talking about meritorious and bonus, it's for institutional jobs, programs, and education. So, many sentenced inmates are involved in one or more of those things and have the opportunity to get those good time credits. As far as if they work, that they have been shown to reduce recidivism. I don't know if we've had an evaluation of the effect of the program and the behavior within the institution, but we have had some research done on people that complete programs and what happens when they're out in the community. So in that respect, our cognitive behavioral treatment programs and our Track 1, our most intensive substance use treatment program, have been shown to have significant results post-release as far as reducing recidivism. But as far as inside, to my knowledge, we haven't actually had any evaluations that would correlate program participation and good behavior within the facility.
And if I can, Jessica, kind of expand on that a little bit as far as like what programming goes.
Sure.
So we're constantly looking at and trying to add new programs that have shown the ability to reduce recidivism. We've expanded some programs even more into our maximum security unit. There's being more programs offered than have ever been in the department. There's lots of work assignments and varying work assignments that individuals can participate in. So we try and make as much available to individuals as we possibly can.
I'm looking at one of the questions, and I think it's more of a recap, but it may help just for clarity. Um, we defined good time a little bit in the beginning, but just to reiterate, Tom, to kind of summarize, what is it and what do they earn?
So good time there again. There's statutory good time is based off the total time the individual is serving. They earn that each those amounts per month as their sentence goes. Again, an individual, if they look at their status sheet, it'll be calculated in total at the top of their status sheet. But again, it should be applied monthly, based on the way the law currently sits. Meritorious good time is any good time that an individual earns for participation in work, school, or program. Those hours are prorated based on the total number of hours of work, school, or programming that they do each month, and are applied at the beginning of the month after they've been earned. Bonus good time is any good time an individual earns for completion of the program, so they successfully complete the program, and they earn good time, based on that completion, based on what the approval has been. So those are pretty much the main ways of doing it. And all good time is taken off the end of the sentence, not at the beginning. So anything that's you see at the beginning of a sentence is all credit for time served things. Anything at the back end of the sentence is all good time.
So a couple questions about basically the references or resources we used for this presentation. So just to answer them in a general sense, Department of Correction policy can be found on our website. And there is an application of good time policy that is available through that. It's policy 7.2 if anyone wants to check out the DOC website. Delaware code, obviously, so some of the specific statutes, they're online as well. Anyone can look up the Delaware code. And then someone asked to see a list of the programs that are approved for good time. We may be able to send that list out with the rest of the presentation, but if not, we will be very shortly here, hopefully in the coming weeks, we'll be releasing a program directory, our updated program directory. So you'll be able to see it there, if not before then. So just
the program directory indicates what programs are eligible for meritorious good time and meritorious bonus good time. Because like I said, there's some that are approved for one, the meritorious good time, but not the bonus good time. So it'll indicate in the directory what they're approved for.
Okay.
I see one, Jessica, if you don't mind me jumping in. It says, does it transfer between level 4 and level 5 facilities? So, and I can kind of give a broad overview of this one. In short, let me see how I can answer this. So an individual can earn good time while at level 5. So anything that they earn while at level 5 reduces their ADJ or the release date. Their level 4 will start at whatever that ADJ date is, and then any good time that they earn at level 4 will be applied to level 4. There was an interesting thing that I came across probably about a month or two ago, where an individual was asking about their bonus good time for earning their GED or high school diploma. I believe it was their GED. And they didn't want to keep going because they didn't want to not get their bonus time when they could finish it at level 4 and get their bonus time. So after talking with our records department and how that worked, if he completed and was completed within our automated system, then the 30 days would have been applied to his sentence, and his level 4 would have been whatever that date is. If they didn't get the completion until after he went to level 4, then that would be taken off the back end of his level 4 sentence. So either way, he was given credit for that bonus time that the individual earned. And it's similar with when an individual works, and then say, individual works all of June and their release date is in July. There's a question on there that, can we do it early? The answer would be no. We can't approve a certain individual early because their release date is coming up. However, if they go to level 4, then those days would be applied to their level 4.
So I'm going to modify a question just to try to maybe get some clarification. So are non-TIS sentences, are those individuals also still able to earn meritorious and meritorious bonus good time if they're non-TIS?
I'm trying to remember because there is a distinction in the law. Um, I believe it was I believe in 2012. I don't remember the law off the top of my head. I'd have to look at it, but I believe it's anybody sentenced on or after the August 2012 date can earn the bonus good time. Anything before that, I don't believe is eligible for that, but I'd have to double check Title 21 or Title 11.
So to the asker of that question, we will do a little more research and get back to you with some clarification on that. Let's see. Before we wrap up, we're about at time. So the questions that we didn't get to, if they were not asked anonymously, we will respond via email. Let's see. Kind of going through. And again, so some other topics, like I said, there are a couple questions about how people get into programming to earn that good time. So like I said, I would refer back to a prior webinar on intake and classification, or look forward to future webinars where we can get into those topics. Someone asked a really good question. Will programs that earn meritorious bonus good time be able to be completed on the tablets? So that we have recently gone 1-to-1 tablet ratio, and we're currently in the process of looking at what if and how we can offer programs that earn good time on the tablets. So right now, no, but now that we're 1-to-1, we're investigating different opportunities and things that can be offered on the tablets to see if anything could be approved for that. But it would still have to go through the same process that all of our other programs do for good time approval. So with that, I noticed we are at time. So any additional questions you can submit to Tom Aiello. You could submit to the doc_reentry@delaware.gov email address. If you're in need of any victim services information, doc_victimservices@delaware.gov. Or for those with specific questions or about someone in custody, please contact our community relations team at ask_mail@delaware.gov. And lastly, please visit Join Delaware DOC or contact our recruiters to learn more about working at DOC. We have a hiring event coming up July 26th here at the administration building, and walk-ins are welcome. So anyone interested in joining our team, the new hire starting salary has been effective as of July. And that is all we have for today. Thank you for joining us. Please look forward to new topics. Any suggestions for new topics, feel free to submit. You can send us an email and we'll look into different topics, but we really appreciate you all joining us today. And that concludes today's webinar. Thank you.